kindly make a donation to the Heroes at Home, Cancer Sucks, as well as the Making Strides charities. 3 awesome charities that do a world of good for our men and women in the military and those suffering from cancer. To awesome cops, military personnel, and emergency responders. Please stay safe. You're always in our hearts.
Could the sinking of the mythical island of Atlantis coincided with Noah's flood?
Welcome to TBD On. I am your host, the blind dyslexic, and this is What's on My Mind. Years ago, during the Dark Ages, in other words, prior to the internet, which seemed to be much more simpler, I was flicking around the idiot box, and I came upon one of my many history mystery shows, not history mysteries, but one of my ancient mystery shows, which I've probably seen a million times before, but of course, like always, I pause to watch it. And I want to first stipulate that all these little theories, I don't believe in. They're just odd things that happen to pop into my head over the years. Now, what if Noah's Ark coincided during the sinking of Atlantis? As we know about the tale of Noah and the flood, I know there's Gilgamesh and several others, but as we know from the tale, the earth had gotten so corrupt, God had to basically wash the sins away. He told Noah to gather his family, X number of animals, build a large boat, and they're still uncertain exactly the whole measurement, how that pans out between the type of measurements we do today, and wait for the sign of a dove returning with an olive leaf. That way he would know, and his family would know, that everything was kosher, whereupon they landed on Mount Ararat. I know I paraphrased a bit. Well, that was generally the tale. And of course, with the tale of Atlantis, it was a highly advanced civilization. And some sort of destruction, disaster transpired, either by their own making or by happenstance. And Plato talked about it, and it was either his father or grandfather who told him about this disaster. And as we know, time towards certain cultures can differ. One culture may say, oh, that happened 10 years ago. But to another civilization, they may say 40, 90, 100. But everything turns out the same. This island, either the entirety of it plummets to under the waves, or just a portion of it. Which, with that amount of land mass being dispersed, it's going to cause a tsunami. And at some point, somebody mentioned that, what if it was just in their mind, in their perception, the whole world seemed to have been flooded, when in reality it was just a small section. So in other words, if you lived in a house or better yet, you're in a mall. Power goes off and that's all you knew was the mall. And the power goes off. In your section, you would assume that the entire world went to black instead of just your section. I know, poor analogy. But nonetheless, Atlantis falls, a great flood sweeps the earth. Plus, look at it this way. How are they going to find Atlantis? Seriously, look how much time had elapsed. Look how much tectonic plating had shifted and the silt and debris has built up over the years. Do you honestly think they're going to be able to find Atlantis due to that? But nonetheless, I just thought that was an interesting take on the Great Flood. Leave your comment below. This is your blind dyslexic. Ciao for now.
Could Methuselah have been affected by an ailment of today?
Hey folks and fans, the next up is Methuselah. I mean, I admit, once again, I want to stress that I don't believe in these theories. These are just random ideas that come to mind. So, Methuselah, as we know, he was the grandfather to Noah, the son of Enoch, and the father to Lamech, and he eventually would die around the age of 969. Some have hazarded to guess that the whole long life, or 969-bit, was more in line with indicating that it was a long time ago. That type of indication opposed to his age. Plus he's been stated in the Christianity, the Jewish as well as the Muslim faiths. But this is where the notion that keeps crossing my mind. What if he suffered from progeria? It wasn't the fact that he lived a long time. It's just the fact that he looked as though he lived a long time. And as we know, there are certain ailments today that they had back then at certain points of history, which they would assume was werewolfism, the whole furry face. And who's to say the ailment that made people, hang on, had people, come on, where are you? Made you sensitive to the sun. Can you see the sun there, folks? Made you sensitive to the sun. Wasn't back during the time in which the hunt for vampires. There's a notion. May have been another way of detecting whether they were a witch or a vampire. Because we all know when they unearthed people prior to the way we embalm people, when they opened their caskets, what happened? They're all bloated. They look like they got blood coming from their mouths and all, to give the appearance that they have roamed around. So who's to say that progeria wasn't prevalent back then? Who's to say that Alzheimer's wasn't prevalent back then? Makes sense. They may not have had a name for the ailment, or they had the name of it of a different style. But nonetheless, that was just an interesting thought that crossed my mind, that what if all this time we had Methuselah and the long life business was in reality suffered from progeria, and that's why he appeared to have looked as old as he did. This is your blind dyslexic. Ciao for now.
Could the Shroud of Turin have been damaged more than we were allowed to believe?
Alright folks, now time for the individual, or time for the certain subject that sparked my idea. About several years ago, once again I want to stress that I don't believe any of these. I don't think this is what really happened. It's just a notion that popped in my head. And I'm just finally getting around to relating how strange my mind can work. Anyway, once again, years ago in the dark ages, prior to the internet, I was flicking around the idiot box and came upon one of my many history mystery shows. So often I will pause and watch it from that point, or I'll just simply stay and watch it from the beginning. But either way, they did a thing about the Shroud of Turin, and as you know, that's the burial cloth to Jesus. That's the burial cloth to Jesus. Hallelujah. I know. I'm going to be spanked for that one. But nonetheless, the notion is, and about around the 70s, late 80s, they carbon dated it and found it wasn't as old as it was claiming to be. And it got me to thinking. Years later, what if the Shroud of Turin was damaged far beyond that we were led to believe? We all know that it got caught in a fire, and the monks or priests or whoever it was being held by managed to save it. But like I said, what if the shroud was actually destroyed? And knowing how people's faith back then and how it would look if a sacred object such as that had been destroyed, and the devastation to one's faith, what if they took the technology of that day, that era, and recreated the shroud? Another thing, what if the shroud is in reality the Holy Grail? There's all this talk about the Holy Grail. It's supposed to be a goblet. It's supposed to be in a lineage at some point in time. But what if all this time the Holy Grail was the Shroud of Turin? Interesting take on it, because every little mark on the body of Jesus is there on the shroud. But still, nonetheless, it was just an interesting thought that all this time we're seeking a goblet, someone's lineage, and the true object is right there with the shroud. I'm your blind dyslexic. Ciao for now. You've been watching the TBD on What's on My Mind. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. I do other little casts, from walkabouts to little shorts. I've been your blind dyslexic. Ciao for now.